Hi, and welcome to this week's Wu Wei Wisdom Life Lessons teaching. It's great to be back with you all. This week, we are talking all about how to cope with family conflict and dysfunctional family relationships. You will learn how to recognize dysfunctional family dynamics and the typical causes of family tension and conflict. Now, David works every week with clients all over the world on these sort of family relationship issues, and he'll be sharing the practical steps you can take to authentically navigate through family conflict and tension so you can be happy, healthy, and in your flow. Okay, David, so what are the typical signs in your experience of a dysfunctional family setup?
Well, I think this is one of the most difficult things that I do with clients is that they find this disruption in their family unit one of the hardest things emotionally to deal with. So the signs will be a breakdown in communication, will be a constant nagging, telephone calls telling them what they should be doing, what they shouldn't be doing, never getting any kind of approval or validation, getting the opposite, really, getting criticism and being judgmental. What we would call in our model CCJ, criticizing, comparing, and being judgmental. So my clients would have a expectation or a desire or a wish of a family unit the way that they would like it, the way that they would want their parents to act and behave and support them. But what they're experiencing is far removed from that situation.
And so are you saying then it's a balance between the parents, if we use parents, not being appropriate and balanced, but also the problem becomes exacerbated because the client or the child, the adult child, also has a level of expectations which could be almost seeking some sort of fairy tale family dynamic, which is unachievable. So those two things combined exacerbate the problem of family tensions and family conflicts.
That's definitely true, Alex. It's about expectations. It's about what your parents would expect and want for you. Most parents will still believe, even though you're grown up, they know better than you. They know what's right for you. They don't trust you. They will quite easily and quickly rack up when you've made a mistake, and then they will use that as some kind of guide that they know better. But it will also be what you expect from them, how you believe a family should be, how parents should be. It's normally, in my experience, when I work with clients, about support, and it's about value and about reassurance, and they're still looking for that. I think this really gets more complicated, and I'm really pleased to do this video, but I'm almost equally sure that I can't be precise for you. I can just give you the general background, because what kind of stirs up the potters even more is we have a history. There's a history that goes back right from when you remember. So when I'm working with clients and they'll say, oh, yes, but when I was 6, oh, that's how they used to do. Oh, they'll never change. Oh, this is what they've always thought. Or I can't let go. I can't forgive what they did, what they said, how they acted, what they're trying to do. And so it's almost like the normal thing that we talk about in videos about codependency and being self-sufficient, but there's another added layer of history, which is very muddies the water, if you like. I can't think of a word to say, but it makes it much more difficult for you to be able to emotionally step back from this. And so it's the actual actions and all the emotions and all the historical emotions as well.
It's like a compounding effect. That's what you're saying. And I can see definitely it's that compounding effect of expectations, of criticism, of lack of, not receiving the love or the treatment that I believed I should have had, creates a kind of a dynamic or a story in our minds that we don't want to let go of.
Yes, and it's like that we believe that our parents have set a standard, but the problem is with a lot of my clients, the standard is moving, so you never reach the standard, and so you're on the carousel. You're on the carousel of despair. You can't get what you believe you deserve and you want from your parents, which is that validation and reassurance, and that saying something like they're proud of you or they're satisfied with you. And then on the other side, the parents say, well, I'm trying to do that to kind of drive them on because I know they're lazy, or I know they'll never. If I said, oh, we're so happy with you, and then they'll relax, and I would want them to do better. So you always have these two views of looking at the world. But the thing is, what I want to talk about today, if it's affecting you, it's you that has to change your view, your belief system, your principles. You can't change theirs. And this is what I find with my clients.
But David,
they try, yes,
yeah,
the clients are trying to change theirs.
I've got a big caveat on that because, I'm sure a lot of people would say, yeah, but you're putting all the responsibility back on me here, David. Surely it is reasonable to expect my parents, my mother, my father, or my siblings to behave in a civil, appropriate, and caring way, because that's what I do to them. But I'm just treated very badly. I'm treated like the black sheep of the family. I'm constantly criticized, never enough. Surely the blame or the responsibility can't just lay with me changing my mindset on this, David.
So if a client said that to me, we would have to talk about blame. Why are you looking to blame people? I would be saying, if this is the situation, the reality of the situation that we're in, and we would have to go in, this is why I said this video, I can't be precise, because everybody's situation will be different. The expectations of the family, culture also has a lot to do with this. Religion has a lot to do with this as well. And this is where I normally work, in cultures that arrange marriages or expectations of what children should be doing and the jobs they should be having, the income they should be earning, the position in the family they should have, their responsibility is in the family. Is very much, in my experience of having the fortune to work with people all over the world, is cultural and religious expectations come into this, that their parents are driven by these expectations, and then the children are being brought up with different expectations from a different cultural background, perhaps in a different country, and move countries. And then you have this tremendous internal conflict within the family. And what I'm saying, and I hear the but, and that's why we laughed, is you can now spend your life trying to change your parents, your family structure, that go back to your grandparents and their grandparents and what they believe and what they want for you. You can work a way of trying to move that mountain of history, or you can change your belief on how you deal with that. Now, I would say practically, and that's one thing I think about the Wu Wei Wisdom model that is different. I try my best to teach practicality. What is the situation? What is the reality of the situation? What can you achieve and what can't you achieve? And so for many of my clients, particularly on the culture and religious thing, do we really believe that we can change a lifetime of cultural beliefs and ideas and structures that they've inherited from their parents and they've inherited from their parents? Do you really believe that you can change that? Or do you have to adapt to that? I take your point. And then one of my clients will say, well, it's not fair, it's not right, it's unjust. But that's the way of the reality that we're facing. And that's what we have to deal with. Because if you don't, it will just contaminate your life. And instead of you thriving and succeeding in your life, you will be wasting and diverting so much of your energy on trying to change something that I don't think you even should change, because I believe your parents' beliefs, their structure, their religion, their culture, whatever it is, the way that they were brought up, that's their beliefs. The question for you is, do you have to cooperate and fall into their beliefs? And that really is the problem.
Yeah. And I guess, David, I mean, you've talked about family cultural preferences, you've talked about family religious preferences, but I guess the same applies in terms of, you know, how much we can realistically ever change other people to fit how we would ideally like things to be. It would also apply to parents who are extremely emotionally imbalanced. So,
Same thing.
and you know, I don't like using the word narcissistic, but patterns of emotional behavior, because that they haven't dealt with. There can be patterns of abuse, addictions, all sorts of emotional imbalances within a family. And as much as we would like to right wrongs, as much as we would like to have a civil relationship, a balanced, authentic relationship with individuals in our family, what you're saying is we cannot wait for them to change to meet our expectations, even though the expectations may be quite reasonable,
Very
not
reasonable.
overreaching. But if we are waiting for them to change, or for them to see the light, or for them to apologize, or for wrongs to be righted, we have made the choice to become codependent with them on that outcome. So there's codependency again.
Exactly. And I think it's, as I said at the beginning, this is one of the most challenging, and I've got to be honest, for me, enjoyable, because it's such a kind of a minefield of emotions and thinking of working with my clients. And I agree with you. It would be reasonable. Wouldn't it be reasonable if my father wasn't so hypercritical? Wouldn't that be reasonable if they didn't compare me to my siblings? They've always done it. They've done it since I was a child. They've never stopped doing it. Wouldn't it be reasonable if they would just give me a hug and tell me, yes, we really love you and we're really proud of you? And as Alex said, do you now put your life and your life journey on hold, waiting for them to change? Because you just go into a holding pattern, and you will never be satisfied, because as you quite rightly said, this is a really spiritual, fundamental question. Is it our job to change them? Should we even want to change them? I would say no. I would say that you are investing so much effort, so much time, so much sleepless nights, crying, putting the phone down and being dissatisfied in whatever form that they take. And it's so difficult because, and this is what my clients say to me, but David, it's family. It's family. It's my mom. It's my dad. It's my grandparents. It's my roots. It's where I come from. It's my connection. It's who I am. It's so important for me. And I think that's the kind of the minefield. That's how I think about it when we're working with a client. It's like we're here, we want to get over there, but we have this minefield, and we have to learn how to navigate through this minefield, because I don't think you're going to change them. I've been doing this job for 45 years. I've never encountered, I'm not saying it can't happen, I'm saying that personally I've never encountered then a family, a parent will suddenly have enlightenment, fall to their knees and say, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. What a complete mess I've made. All my beliefs were wrong and you are right. And I'm going to now bend to your will. I've never seen that. I've seen parents apologize, absolutely. And in working with clients, when my clients are more balanced and in their Wu Wei, I have actually seen and witnessed and been part of it when a parent have said, yes, that was a mistake. But you know what? You still have to change your belief structure. Because if you don't believe them that they're going to change, you don't believe that they truly apologize. So all of this, I know I get your pushback. It's like, well, it's me, I've got to change. But I think this comes down to value. Are you worth it? What's the most important thing for you? What's your worth? Do you want to be hooked into this negative circle, or do you want to find a way that would be that you can respect your parents, but you don't have to be so codependent on them? And I think it's that walking that path and finding the words and the teachings about respecting them for what they did for you or what they didn't do for you, or trying their best that didn't meet your expectations, but respecting them as a family unit, but not being codependent. And the words we have to find will be individual for each client, because that's a very thin line that we're treading there. It's a very hard line to tread. And going back to my metaphor of the minefield, if you tread out of line, the thing will blow up.
Yeah.
And so you have to be very careful. Sorry to talk so much, but the first step is you have to be clear in your mind where your value and worth and truth comes from. You have to be clear on your belief system. You have to do, as I always say, start with you. That's the grounding.
I think, David, though, that many of us connect our self-worth, our value system, our belief system to our family, to our parents. You know, when we are in this naturally, I mean, when we're young children, we're in the family situation, we are codependent. And it's very hard to break those bonds because, as you say, it's so personal. The family, there's a lot of emotions involved. Even though we're adults now, when we relate to our parents, our family members, it's like we're relating through our inner child. It's like when a parent still criticizes us or compares us or, dismisses us, it's like we don't react from our authentic, mature adult self. We are reacting from our little inner child. We become that young child again. We go right back to behaving and reacting and responding and seeking validation in the same, just like we were that 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old child.
That's exactly right, Alex. That is the problem. When you put the phone down, many of my clients say, it's like I'm back as an 8-year-old. I'm experiencing exactly the same feelings. And that's where the knowledge, the enlightenment, I don't like the word work because it sounds like it's hard work and something you have to strain at. But it is the acknowledgement for you and your belief systems. I think it comes down when I work with my clients and we can be successful. It's about you being absolutely rock sure on your value, on you being self-sufficient. And that doesn't mean to say alienating your parents or your family, but that is accommodating what they do, how they say things, and not allowing that to affect you. And so, as Alex has just explained, the teaching is not letting them draw you back into that 8-year-old mindset. And this is you being right on board, you being really clear that in that situation, when you're talking to your mother, your family, your sister, this is someone that you respect, some member of your family, someone that's important to you, but you have a different point of view about the world, about life, about yourself, about your career, that may not align with them. And they believe that they have the right, because they're your parent or your big sister or your grandmother or your grandfather, they have the right to pass comment. And you have to find that place in your mind that you give them the space to pass comment, but it doesn't go into you.
Yeah.
It's just,
it doesn't rock you to the core.
Exactly. That's the line that I have to work with my clients. And that's about you being more responsible for what you believe, why you believe it, and not going back into the trap. And it is like a trap.
Yeah.
The words they use, the way they look at you, the way they turn their head, the way they sigh. Sometimes it's not something so direct as saying, I am disappointed in you. Well, it could be that, of course. But sometimes it's so subtle. It's just a kind of a flick of the eye. And you've got to learn that, you've got to spot that, and you've got to be able to combat that. And that really is the technique. And that, as you hear me say, whether we're talking about different things in these teachings, it has to start with you. You have to be self-sufficient in what you believe, what you think. You have to start with that basis that I would say Shen, spirituality. What is it that makes you? And not be codependent on your family, but not swinging to the other side of the emotional pendulum and then shutting out your family and separating yourself from them. And that's the Wu Wei bit in the middle that we have to teach, and we have to show, and we have to find a way that those words are unique to each individual client.
And I think fundamentally, David, if we can be 100% self-assured in what we believe, our own values, our own self-worth, and then assured in that the choices we are making in our life, whether it's to do with our career, our health, our lifestyle, what partners we have, if we are 100% self-assured on that, then if a parent, a family member, a family unit criticizes us, judges us, either directly or indirectly, for example, then we will not be triggered because there is nothing to trigger. Mm-hmm. So we've done several teachings on emotional triggers, and I can put links to those in the show notes to help you on that particular topic. But it means that we don't have to, do as what a lot of people do, which is completely emotionally or physically separate ourselves off, push our parents or a family unit away, move away from them because we just can't handle them. But the reason we can't handle them oftentimes is because we get so easily triggered, because we have a codependency, because they are rocking us to the core every time they criticize us, every time they say something negative or judgmental against us. If we've done the inner work on ourselves, we are not dependent. And what they say about us does not matter so much, certainly.
And that's what I said a few moments ago when you quite rightly pushed back and saying, well, why do I have to change? Well, you have to change because you're addicted to something, and you have to do the work to find out what it is, using your words. Somebody can only pull your trigger if you give them the trigger to pull. And so it's understanding what your beliefs are that are creating the emotions that they keep on affecting. So if your father or your mother or your sibling or your grandparents or somebody that's in your family unit can bring you to tears, can get you mad, can get you angry, can keep you awake at night, there is something in your belief system, not in their belief system, in your belief system. And that is the only thing that you can change. That's the key. You can spend your life trying to change their belief system, but it won't work because they haven't asked you to do it. Wouldn't it be more powerful, more spiritual, more true, more honest, to say, what is it that I believe, not what I feel? Remember, you are the creator of your emotions. Your parents do not create your emotions. They press a button and you create the emotion. Look at the button. Look at what their trigger that they're pressing. Because when you disconnect that trigger, and it will be different for everyone. It'll be different for you than your sibling. It'll be different for you than your partner. I'm sure your partner says, I don't know why you get so upset. I don't know why you get it. They're an old couple now. They don't understand. But you have to understand. And that trigger is in your belief system. And that's why we teach the golden thread process. Don't focus on your feelings. Find out what creates your feelings. You are the creator of your emotions. That's a belief. And in my experience, it will differ, but it will always be around your expectations or their expectations, or you buying into their expectations, or you believing I'll never please them, I'll never reach their standards. They'll always be dissatisfied. And that's where you have to do the work. And that's where you can make the changes. Thank goodness you can make those changes.
So the first authentic thing to do is to do the inner work on your values, your beliefs, and really carefully examining when you do get triggered, asking the question, what was I thinking here? What did they say? And what did that make me think and believe about myself? And that's how you get down using the golden thread process to those core beliefs.
Yes.
But then once we've done that work, it does not mean that we then act like a complete doormat and let people misbehave, mistreat us, disrespect us. So this is when putting boundaries in place comes into play. And that is also a very authentic way of taking self-responsibility for the situation.
It is, Alex. And we've done a teachings on boundary setting. But what a lot of people get it wrong, they try and create boundaries based on emotions. And you should create boundaries based on what you believe. So if an important member of your family goes over what you believe to be the boundaries, first of all, check your boundaries. Do the work on yourself. What is this boundary? What is my belief? Not what I feel. Oh, this really upsets me. Oh, they really upset me. Oh, they drive me mad. Or they make me angry. Or they make me overwhelmed. Or they make me depressed. No. What is it that they're saying? What is the boundary that this goes over? What is the boundary in my belief system that I do not believe my mother, father, sister, brother should say to me? And why shouldn't they say it to me? Be clear on that boundary. Base that boundary on your belief. Then you'll experience a totally different feeling. Because now if somebody steps over the boundary, you can say, hang on, sis, hang on, bro. That's not appropriate. It's just not appropriate. And now it's coming from a different place. Instead of coming from an emotional base, and this is what I see when I work with clients from all over the world, from different countries, so many of this is one emotional base of my client who is normally the child, but sometimes the parent. I sometimes have a parent coming to me and saying, I love my child, I want the best for them, I don't understand how they keep on choosing the wrong person, or they're not in the right career, or they're not reaching their potential. They waste their life if they only listen to me. So it can be both ways to view it, but they're not viewing it from their intellect, from their reality, from their core beliefs. They view it from their emotion. And then what happens? Now what they say is emotionally driven. It's coming from the emotion, and then it activates the emotion of the other person, and now you've got an emotional battle. And that's where within a few moments it spirals out of control. Nobody knows what they're saying. You end up arguing, crying, slamming the phone down, walking out, being upset, instead of keeping it in what you believe, keeping it into your belief system. I understand as you're listening to me and you're going, oh God, that's really hard to do. I agree with you. This is not easy to do. And that's why you have to start with you. If it's not easy for you, why do you think it's easier to get somebody else to do it? They don't even want to do it. So start with you. And we've done many teachings. Look back into our archives, join our Facebook community. But it starts with you being clear on what you believe, what your principles, what your standards, what your morals, what your cultural beliefs, what your religious beliefs. Don't worry about what theirs are. Be clear on what yours are.
Yeah, and that's where the updating comes in, because for a lot of us, our beliefs about ourselves, about the world, about our potential, our beliefs we've taken from childhood based on what our parents or a family told us that we should be doing, and we've never reviewed those beliefs, and we've never updated them so that they're actually fitting with us now as a fully grown individual who is authentic, who is free thinking.
That's right, Alex. And so many people will not want to do that work because that work is very confusing.
Yeah.
And they'll say, well, I don't want to open that lid. I don't want to open that Pandora's box. But if you can't do that for yourself, so you're clear on your beliefs and structures and morals and whatever you want to call them, principles, how do you expect someone else to change to agree to you? Why do you believe that this should be somehow their responsibility when actually it's your responsibility? And I know it's difficult. Let me repeat. I know it's difficult. I understand it's difficult. But I believe that's the work that you can do. And that, to me, is spiritual work. That, to me, is about you realigning with you, being clear on your principles, standards, morals, beliefs. And then in a very strange way, when somebody else disagrees with you, actually it's not so emotional because all they're saying is, I disagree with you. My beliefs are different. Then you're interested in what they believe because your beliefs are grounded, solid. As I've said in several teachings, your beliefs are formed on the rock, not on shifting sand, on the emotion. They're formed on very strong, very structured way of believing. And then if somebody else has a different belief, well, it now becomes quite interesting to hear what they believe and where they come from. And so you approach it from a different angle, and therefore you're not triggered so much, and therefore you're not emotional reactive. But let me finish to where I started. This, I think, is the most difficult thing because you're a loving person, you're a sensitive person, and you would love this wonderful, inclusive family that everybody agrees, everybody gets on, everybody's got the same principles and morals and what you think they agree with. Wouldn't that be lovely? It would. But I believe that's utopia. And I'm sure there are those few families that happens. I'm sure there are, but not many. And many of us have these very complicated structures. We live in different parts of the world, different parts of the country. We're brought up under different generations and different ideas. And that is more of the reality that we live in. And so it's down to you, and that's why we do these teachings. It's down to you to make sure that you're grounded and your foundations are right and you're clear on what you believe and why you believe it.
Thank you, David. And as I say, I will put a link in our show notes to the other teachings we've done on triggers, and also the teaching we've done on setting boundaries, and several other teachings which will help you with this particular topic. I do hope you have enjoyed this. Please do comment and let us know, and maybe share the teaching with someone else who you think may also benefit. As David says, he works every week with clients all over the world by Zoom video call on exactly these sort of family issues and family dynamics. If you are interested in David's consultations, I will also put a link in the show notes so you can learn more about those. And finally, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We produce new teachings every week and we would love to share your journey with you. Bye-bye.